Mia's cries were becoming more intense whenever Emily left the house, and she clung to her mother more than ever before. Emily decided to limit her catering gigs, opting to stay home more often. Tyler, noticing this shift, seemed agitated. "Don't worry about Mia so much. She's fine," he said dismissively, but his words did little to ease her mind. One Saturday morning, Emily received a call for another catering event. She hesitated, torn between her growing suspicion and her professional commitments. Tyler stepped in as usual, offering to watch Mia. Reluctantly, Emily agreed and left the house. It all started in Atlanta, Georgia, when Emily, a talented caterer, met her future husband Marcus at an upscale dinner event. Emily had been hired to provide her signature Southern dishes, and Marcus, a marketing executive for a prestigious New York firm, was attending the event as a guest speaker. After tasting Emily's food, Marcus couldn't resist approaching her. "This is the best barbecue I've ever had," he said with a smile. "Whoever your husband is must be one lucky guy." Emily blushed. "Thank you, but I'm not married," she replied, handing him her business card. Little did they know, this chance encounter would lead to a whirlwind romance and a private wedding 6 months later, with only a handful of friends and family in attendance. Emily felt like she was living a fairy tale. Marcus was everything she had hoped for in a husband: loving, supportive, and hardworking. After their wedding, the couple settled into a cozy suburban home in Atlanta. Emily soon discovered she was pregnant, and the couple welcomed their daughter, Mia, 9 months later. The arrival of Mia brought unparalleled joy, and their home felt complete. But life had a way of throwing curveballs, and unbeknownst to Emily, her world was about to change in ways she couldn't imagine. Marcus's younger brother, Tyler, had recently moved in with them. At 22, Tyler was taking a gap year before starting college and needed a place to stay. Emily wasn't thrilled about the arrangement, but didn't want to come across as unwelcoming. To her surprise, Tyler was helpful around the house. He pitched in with chores and was especially attentive to baby Mia, earning Emily's trust over time. She began to think of him as the little brother she never had. When Marcus got a promotion and had to relocate temporarily to Chicago, Emily relied on Tyler even more. He stepped up, offering to help babysit Mia whenever Emily needed to work. 6 months after Mia was born, Emily received an offer to cater for the mayor's office. It was a high-profile opportunity she couldn't turn down. However, juggling her work and caring for a clingy baby was proving to be a challenge. Tyler stepped in. "I can take care of Mia while you're working. She loves being with me anyway," he said confidently. Emily hesitated at first, but eventually agreed. Tyler had proven to be reliable, and Mia seemed to adore him. This arrangement worked well for a while. Emily felt fortunate to have someone she could trust, especially with Marcus away so often. Unknown to Emily, Tyler's intentions were far from innocent. As weeks turned into months, his attachment to Mia grew obsessive. He began to act inappropriately, taking advantage of moments when Emily wasn't around. Mia, too young to understand or communicate, became increasingly withdrawn. She cried more frequently, especially when left alone with Tyler, but Emily dismissed it as normal toddler behavior. One night, Emily woke up from a troubling dream. In it, Mia was crying out to her, desperate for help. The dream left her shaken, but she convinced herself it was nothing more than a mother's overactive imagination. Emily couldn't shake the uneasy feeling the dream had left her with. She began to notice small changes in Mia's behavior. The once happy toddler now seemed fearful, especially when Tyler was around. "Maybe she's just going through a phase," Emily told herself, brushing aside her concerns. After all, Tyler had always been so good with Mia, hadn't he? But deep down, Emily knew something wasn't right. Her instincts were screaming at her to pay closer attention, even if she couldn't quite put her finger on what was wrong. One evening, after Marcus called to check in from Chicago, Emily noticed Mia scratching herself uncomfortably. Concerned, she decided to give her daughter a bath and check for rashes or irritation. As she bathed Mia, Emily noticed redness in an area that alarmed her. "This doesn't seem normal," she murmured to herself. She made a mental note to call the pediatrician the next day. Meanwhile, Tyler continued his overly attentive behavior, always volunteering to take care of Mia, and often insisting Emily get some rest. While she appreciated his help, something about his eagerness felt increasingly odd. During the pediatrician's visit, the doctor assured Emily that the redness might simply be a mild infection, possibly from Mia's diapers. A prescription cream was given, and Emily left feeling slightly relieved. Still, her unease persisted. Mia's cries were becoming more intense whenever Emily left the house, and she clung to her mother more than ever before. Emily decided to limit her catering gigs, opting to stay home more often. Tyler, noticing this shift, seemed agitated. "Don't worry about Mia so much. She's fine," he said dismissively, but his words did little to ease her mind. One Saturday morning, Emily received a call for another catering event. She hesitated, torn between her growing suspicion and her professional commitments. Tyler stepped in as usual, offering to watch Mia. Reluctantly, Emily agreed and left the house. However, she couldn't focus on her work. Her thoughts kept returning to Mia. Was she imagining things, or was something really wrong? After only an hour at the event, Emily decided to return home unannounced. As she approached the house, a heavy sense of dread settled over her. The house was eerily quiet when she stepped inside. Emily quietly made her way to Tyler's room, her heart pounding with every step. When she opened the door, what she saw made her stomach churn. Tyler was caught in an unforgivable act, and Mia's cries confirmed Emily's worst fears. Frozen in shock for a moment, she then exploded in anger, yelling at Tyler and grabbing her daughter from his grasp. "How could you do this?" she screamed, her voice shaking with rage and heartbreak. Tyler stammered, trying to offer excuses, but there was no way to deny what Emily had just witnessed. Emily called Marcus immediately, her voice trembling as she recounted the horrific incident. Marcus, who was on his way back from Chicago, arrived home later that evening. When he entered the house, Emily was still sobbing, holding Mia tightly in her arms. Tyler, meanwhile, had locked himself in his room, refusing to face the consequences. Marcus demanded an explanation from his brother. When Tyler finally emerged, Marcus's fury was evident. "You've betrayed us all," he said, his voice cold and filled with disappointment. "Pack your things and get out." Emily was determined to report Tyler's actions to the authorities. She couldn't let him get away with what he had done, not just for Mia's sake, but for any other child he might hurt in the future. However, Marcus was hesitant. "We need to handle this carefully," he said. "If this goes public, it could destroy my career and tear our family apart." Emily refused to back down. "Your brother is a predator, and he needs to be stopped," she said firmly. Her resolve was unshakable, even as family members urged her to stay quiet. Emily took Mia to a specialized children's hospital, where tests confirmed her worst fears. Mia had contracted a sexually transmitted infection. The doctor explained that such infections were clear indicators of abuse. Emily broke down in tears as the weight of the situation hit her. She blamed herself for not acting sooner, for trusting Tyler despite her instincts. "This is not your fault," the doctor reassured her. "You're doing the right thing by seeking help and protecting your daughter now." Emily held Mia tightly, vowing to never let her guard down again. When Emily informed the rest of Marcus's family about what had happened, the reactions were mixed. Some supported her decision to involve the police, while others begged her to reconsider. "Tyler is young," Marcus's mother said tearfully over the phone. "He made a terrible mistake, but do you really want to ruin his life?" Emily couldn't believe what she was hearing. "What about Mia's life?" she replied angrily. "She's the victim here, and she deserves justice." As the days passed, Emily felt increasingly isolated. Marcus was torn between supporting his wife and appeasing his family, who wanted to sweep the incident under the rug. Emily, however, refused to waver. She filed a police report, detailing everything she had witnessed and providing the medical evidence for Mia's hospital visit. Though the process was emotionally draining, Emily found strength in her love for Mia. She knew that staying silent would only allow Tyler to harm others in the future. Tyler was arrested 2 weeks later. Emily felt a mix of relief and anguish as she watched the police take him away in handcuffs. She knew she had done the right thing, but the emotional toll was immense. Marcus struggled to come to terms with what had happened. While he supported Emily publicly, he privately wrestled with guilt and shame over his brother's actions. Meanwhile, Emily sought therapy for herself and Mia, determined to help her daughter heal from the trauma. Tyler's arrest sent shockwaves through the family, and the legal process began swiftly. Emily worked closely with detectives and lawyers, recounting every detail to ensure Mia's voice was heard. Marcus's family hired a defense attorney for Tyler, claiming he was young and had acted out of confusion. "This is not confusion," Emily said bitterly. "This is a crime, and he needs to pay for it." As the court date approached, Emily braced herself for the grueling trial ahead. She knew the defense would try to discredit her, but she was determined to stand firm for Mia's justice. Marcus struggled to balance his loyalty to Emily and his family's expectations. His mother constantly called, urging him to convince Emily to drop the charges. "She's tearing this family apart," his mother yelled during one call. Marcus, torn and guilt-ridden, finally snapped. "Tyler tore this family apart the moment he hurt Mia. Don't you dare blame Emily for this." That night, Marcus sat with Emily, apologizing for the lack of support. "I've been so caught up in family drama," he admitted. "But I'm with you, Emily. I'll stand by you no matter what." The trial was emotionally draining for everyone involved. Emily took the stand, recounting the horrific moment she walked in on Tyler and what followed. Her voice cracked as she described Mia's pain and the betrayal she felt. The defense tried to paint Tyler as a young man who made a poor decision, but the prosecution countered with the undeniable medical evidence and the testimonies from doctors. Emily sat through every session, holding Marcus's hand tightly. Each day in court felt like an uphill battle, but she refused to let fear or intimidation silence her. During one particularly brutal cross-examination, Emily was asked why she hadn't acted sooner when she noticed Mia's behavior change. The defense lawyer's words stung. "I trusted someone I thought was family," she said through tears. "I didn't know, but when I found out, I acted. And I won't stop until justice is served." Her testimony resonated with many in the courtroom. Mothers in the audience nodded in understanding, their eyes filled with sympathy. Emily felt a renewed sense of determination. When it was Marcus's turn to testify, he described his trust in Tyler and how he felt blindsided by the betrayal. His voice cracked with emotion as he recounted Emily's discovery and the fallout. "I failed my wife and my daughter by not seeing the signs," Marcus admitted. "But now, I'm here to ensure this never happens again, to my family or anyone else's." His heartfelt testimony added weight to the case, showing that even Tyler's own brother recognized the gravity of the crime. When Tyler took the stand, he broke down in tears, claiming he didn't know why he acted the way he did. "I've always loved Mia. I never meant to hurt her," he said, his voice trembling. Emily clenched her fists, fighting the urge to scream. To her, Tyler's tears were nothing but a manipulative tactic to gain sympathy. The prosecution didn't hold back. They reminded the court that Tyler's actions were deliberate, calculating, and repeated. "This was not a mistake," the prosecutor said firmly. "This was abuse." After weeks of emotional testimonies and evidence, the jury finally reached a verdict. Emily sat in the courtroom, her hands trembling as the foreman stood to speak. "We find the defendant, Tyler Barnes, guilty of all charges," the foreman announced. Emily let out a shaky breath, tears streaming down her face. Justice had been served. Tyler was sentenced to 25 years in prison without parole. For the first time in months, Emily felt a sense of relief, knowing Mia was safe and that Tyler could no longer harm anyone else. The aftermath of the trial was both liberating and exhausting. Marcus apologized again for his initial hesitation, and Emily worked hard to rebuild her trust in him. "We've been through so much," Marcus said one night, holding Emily's hand. "But I know we'll come out stronger because of it." Emily nodded, silently hoping he was right. Together, they decided to focus on Mia's healing, committing to creating a safe and loving environment for her to grow up in. Emily enrolled Mia in play therapy, working with child psychologists to help her process the trauma. Though Mia was too young to fully understand what had happened, the therapists reassured Emily that early intervention was key. Emily also sought therapy for herself. The guilt and anger she carried were heavy burdens, but with time, she began to forgive herself. Marcus joined her in counseling sessions where they learned how to better communicate and support one another through the pain. Despite the verdict, Marcus's family remained divided. Some supported Emily's decision, while others continued to blame her for Tyler's downfall. During a tense family gathering, Marcus stood up for Emily. "If any of you can't respect my wife and our choices, then you're not welcome in our lives," he said firmly. Though painful, the confrontation brought a sense of clarity. Marcus and Emily realized they needed to focus on their own family, prioritizing Mia's well-being above all else. With Tyler behind bars and the court case behind them, Emily and Marcus focused on creating a new chapter for their family. They decided to move to a quieter suburb in Austin, Texas, hoping a fresh environment would help Mia and themselves heal. Their new home was filled with laughter and light, a stark contrast to the darkness they had endured. Emily resumed her catering business, finding joy in her passion for cooking once again. Marcus also made an effort to spend more time at home, prioritizing family over long hours at the office. In their new neighborhood, they found a supportive community. Emily connected with other moms who shared her values of vigilance and openness. Slowly but surely, the wounds began to heal. As Mia grew, Emily and Marcus decided to have an honest conversation with her, in an age-appropriate way, about what had happened. They explained that it was okay to talk about feelings and to always come to them if something felt wrong. Emily also started a blog, sharing her story to raise awareness about child safety and abuse prevention. Her posts resonated with many parents who had faced similar fears, and she became a voice of support and encouragement. One day, a mother wrote to her, "Your story saved my daughter. Thank you for speaking out." Reading that message, Emily felt a renewed sense of purpose. Marcus's efforts to rebuild trust paid off. He and Emily grew closer, leaning on each other in ways they hadn't before. They celebrated every small milestone, from Mia's first day of preschool to her first recital. As a family, they made new traditions, like Saturday pancake mornings and evening walks in the park. These moments became the foundation of their healing, reminding them of the beauty of resilience and love. Though they couldn't erase the past, they refused to let it define their future. Together, they created a home filled with safety, laughter, and hope. Years later, Emily stood on a stage at a parenting conference, sharing her story with hundreds of parents. She spoke about the importance of trusting instincts, being vigilant, and teaching children to speak up. "As parents, we can't always control what happens," Emily said, her voice steady. "But we can control how we respond, how we protect, and how we heal." The audience gave her a standing ovation, inspired by her courage and wisdom. After the conference, Marcus and Mia greeted her with hugs. "You were amazing, Mom," Mia said with a big smile. Emily hugged her tightly, tears in her eyes. Her journey had been painful, but it had also been transformative. Through the darkness, she had found her strength, and with it, a way to help others. Her family had come out stronger, and their story was now a beacon of hope for others facing their own storms. Subscribe to our channel and turn on the bell notification for more stories like this, and give this video a thumbs up. Click on this next interesting story.